Nigeria's react as residents recount moment U.S. strikes hit Sokoto communities. National Assembly orders re-gazetting of new tax laws. Kaduna promotes healing across faith lines as they celebrate Boxing Day. On the foreign scene, UN says Guinea's election campaign marred by intimidation. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I am Memona Bagudu. Now, the reported United States airstrike in Jabo town in Tambuwal local government area of Sokoto state has raised concerns among residents who described the incident as sudden and unexpected, especially in a community known for its relative calm. Now, eyewitnesses say an aircraft flew over the area and dropped an object, triggering a loud explosion that sent panic through the community. Unfortunately, no casualties were recorded. The report.
Following the incident, the Vice Chairman of Tambuwal Local Government Council, Muhammad Dalladi Damma, urged residents to remain calm and go about their normal activities, assuring them that the situation was under control.
Nobody wants disaster. Therefore, Jabo people inclusive. It is a disaster, although there is no casualty. But people are panicking. More especially as Jabo people are peace-loving people. And the entire local government are peace-loving people. This is the first of its kind. Therefore, not only Jabo people, but the rest of the local government are also panicking of what has happened.
The United States Africa Command, AFRICOM, later confirmed the airstrike, explaining that it was carried out in coordination with Nigerian authorities and targeted suspected IS militant operating in part of Sokoto state. U.S. President Donald Trump also announced the airstrike, stating that it was carried out in response to attacks by the group against Christians. Meanwhile, the district head of Jabo, Alhaji Aliyu Garbazaki, expressed gratitude to Allah that no lives were lost during the incident.
No, actually, we don't have much challenge on security here in Jabo. But the problem that will happen is the neighboring villages because we are bordering with Zamfara. So at times, if there is a movement of this bandit, a lot of people, if they see them, they fear. They run here for this thing, and after a while, they will go back to their villages. But we don't have any challenge on security. We don't have any this thing. It's a normal thing. We are doing our normal life. The only problem is at times if there is movement of the bandit, the villagers used to run to Jabo so that they can have a.
However, some residents described the development as unfortunate, noting that the community was not being associated with banditry or militant activities and expressed concern over the impact of such operations on peaceful communities.
That's not it. Since around 3 years or 5 years ago. 3 years or 5 years ago. So, but for this time, there is not anything which happened in this area, inshallah. There's no anything, no terrorists in the Jabo town, inshallah. There's no terrorists.
While authorities maintain that the operation was targeted and controlled, the airstrike has left many residents seeking clarity and reassurance. As investigations continue and security agencies review the incident, residents of Jabo hope that future operations will prioritize intelligence accuracy to prevent fear in peaceful communities and ensure safety of innocent civilians.
Now, the U.S. military strikes in Nigeria on Christmas Day in Nigeria's northwest has triggered sharp reactions at home and abroad. The development has reopened the debate on foreign involvement as insecurity continues to destabilize communities in the region. Amina Ibrahim reports.
For residents who have lived through years of killings, abductions and displacements in the Northwest, news of the U.S. military strikes has landed with mixed feelings. Many see it as added muscles for Nigeria's overstretched security force, after years of attack that have emptied villages and claimed thousands of lives.
Everything is in our government's hand. They have to say they take action. This kind of thing will not happen. They will not even dreaming of coming to our country. But so far, they are so clumsy over it. Anything can happen.
Ordinarily, they should form an alliance because since we cannot do it on our own, let the country come and help us.
Because we are tired of the rubbish. Killing people anyhow, it's not fair. We need luxury. We are Nigerians. We don't need trouble.
On the streets, hopes runs high as it could weaken violent armed groups that have operated with immunity. Some believe the strike may signal a shift after repeated complaints that Nigeria have been left to fight alone. But the hopes come with fear. Residents worried about citizens' casualties, loss of control over security decisions, and what deepens foreign military actions could mean for Nigerian sovereignty.
It is a part of the milk of human kindness from the world leader. Because from what I see and understand, it's like he's acting like a police to the nations of the world.
We know when it comes to the issue of external body coming to help Nigeria, there's a way we look at it. We always have that biased mind. But if we can put our hands together, you see, these people are not just coming to come and fight Nigerians as a whole. No, they are coming to lend a helping hand. And that's why I say from the beginning, I say for me, if them coming to Nigeria to come and support in fighting the insurgency or to end the insurgency, that is not a bad idea.
There's no way it should not have a negative consequence. I know how that it's not easy to end a war because I'm seeing this banditry as a war. Now it's going out of the issue of banditry kidnapping to war. So there's no way US will come and it should not have a negative effect on Nigeria. But I'm praying that let the negative effect be small or minimal. But there must be a negative effect. There must be consequences.
The message from the public is clear. People want peace at all costs, but they also want answer, clarity, and limits to what today's response does not create tomorrow's problem. Amina Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now moving on, the Armed Forces of Nigeria has said the recent airstrikes in the northwest demonstrate the federal government's unwavering resolve to confront terrorism in collaboration with the United States. The Director of Defense Information, Major General Samaila Uba, stated this in a statement issued on Friday in Abuja, noting that the operation was based on credible intelligence and aimed at degrading the operational capabilities of terrorists while minimizing collateral damage. According to him, the strikes were carried out with the approval of the appropriate authorities as part of sustained efforts to rid the country of terrorists and other criminal elements threatening national security. Uba added that the operation followed careful planning and intelligence-driven targeting to ensure effectiveness while limiting harm to civilians. He said the airstrikes underscored the federal government's resolve working with strategic international partners to confront transnational terrorism and prevent foreign fighters from establishing or expanding footholds within Nigeria. The defense spokesman reaffirmed the armed forces' commitment to the protection of lives and property across the country. Now, panic gripped residents of Offa, Kwara State on Thursday night after explosions rocked parts of the town, destroying property and raising security concerns barely hours after the United States announced airstrikes against ISIS targets in northwest Nigeria. The incident, which occurred around midnight on Christmas Day, reportedly took place at two separate locations within Offa. Residents said that the first explosion affected several buildings around the Eid praying ground area, while the second occurred near Solid Worth Hotel, about a 5-minute walk from the initial site. It was further gathered that an undetonated explosive device was discovered at the second location, prompting heightened security measures. However, the exact source and nature of the explosions remained unclear as of the time of filing this report. Now, confirming the incident, the Chief Press Secretary to the Executive Chairman of Offa Local Government Area, Abiola Aziz Babatunde, said the council was aware of reports circulating online about the explosions. He disclosed that the chairman of Offa Local Government Area, Suleiman Olatunji Omitutun, visited the scene shortly after the incident to assess the situation. The council chairman urged residents to remain calm and vigilant while security agencies conduct investigations. Meanwhile, a security official who spoke on condition of anonymity confirmed that what struck the buildings in Offa was a component from an armed missile. Now, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has criticized the federal government for failing to announce the U.S. airstrikes before President Donald Trump made them public. Trump announced on Truth Social on Thursday that the United States had carried out airstrikes in northwest Nigeria, during which several terrorists were reportedly killed. The federal government later confirmed the attacks, stating that they were conducted in collaboration with the U.S. However, PDP spokesperson Ini Ememobong said the federal government should have briefed Nigerians before the U.S. authorities did. The PDP stated that the government's passive confirmation of its knowledge and cooperation in the operation raises serious concerns about a communication structure in which foreign powers announce security operations in Nigeria before the country's own government does. Now, joining us live in our studio is Hamza Idris, Deputy Editorial Director, to discuss on the security stories. Thank you, Malam Hamza, for joining us this evening. It's such a pleasure to have you in the studio today.
Thank you, Memuna. I am happy to be here.
Good. Now, let's jump right in. Being that we've seen a whole lot of security issues going on in the past few days, let's take a look at Jabo community. Now, the residents say Jabo is a peaceful community, but yet AFRICOM says the strike targeted is militants. Now, how do such intelligence gaps happen in joint military operations? And again, who is responsible when civilians are left confused and afraid?
Well, I want to speak using the lenses of a reporter, because for the past 16 years, I've been reporting on insecurity. Now, this incident that happened last night, if the launch was in Sambisa Forest, for instance, Nigerians need no explanation. There, you have a vast forest of over 60,000 square kilometers. And it is bigger than West Virginia, for instance. It is bigger than Togo, here in West Africa. And from all indications, the terrorists have overwhelmed our security forces. So if US had launched the first attack in Sambisa Forest, fair enough. Or in Alagarno, which has border around Damboa and parts of Yobe State. Alagarno is like headquarters of militants, Boko Haram, ISIS or whatever. It is bigger than Ebonyi State. Up till now, our security forces have not been able to contain insecurity there. If this attack was launched, let's say in Sububu or Rubu Forest, which traversed, Zamfara, Kaduna, and Katsina states, this is where hundreds of young girls, married women, have been taken away by terrorists. They are raping them. If this attack was launched there, Nigerians need no explanation. But as you rightly ask, the federal government of Nigeria must now explain as to the kind of information they had, and then they shared with the United States of America to launch attack in Jabo, which is in southern part of Sokoto. And then we have seen the reports there. The people said for more than 4 years. Some said even for 5 years.
Absolutely.
There was no attack in that community. And then, to be fair, if the launch was taken to eastern part of Sokoto, Nigerians will not ask questions, because that is where you have the border with Zamfara. A lot of, nefarious activities are happening. But then it was taken to southern part of Sokoto, which is Jigawa, and then when you go to northern part of Sokoto, Tangaza. Of course, there are a lot, flashes of attacks by bandits around Tangaza. But in Yabo, big question.
Now, Mala Hamza, there seems to be some sort of a confusion because the U.S. says the strike responded to attacks on Christians. Am I correct to say Jabo is, should we say 70% Muslims in Jabo community?
More than 99%.
More than 99%.
Muslims.
Thank you for
Yes.
that. So what does this incident reveal about transparency and accountability?
And this is where we should ask three fundamental questions.
Absolutely.
Number one, the timing of the launch of the offensive. Number two, the location. And then number three, the framing. For the framing, as you ask, I want to read what Trump said in his truth platform. I have it on my hands.
Please go ahead.
Yes. He said, tonight, at my direction as Commander-in-Chief, the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorists in northwest Nigeria, who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years and even centuries. I have previously warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there would be hell to pay, blah, 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 blah. This is divisive with all sense of responsibility. As I said, I'm speaking using the lenses of a journalist.
Absolutely.
If he said this attack was launched maybe around Plateau or Benue, he shouldn't even use this language because it means that the lives of Muslims does not matter. And there is this report, by the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data. This is a crisis monitoring group. And I want to quote some data here. This group said between January 2020 and September 2025, more than 20,400 civilians were killed in Nigeria. But then they said 317 deaths, Christians, 417 deaths, Muslims. But then 19,666, no identity. Who are they? We should get answer for this. But then back to Sokoto, more than 99%, especially around that location. Of course, there are Christians in Sokoto. But then significantly, when you talk about Islam in Nigeria, Sokoto is first before you talk about Borno, as far, the jihad of Usman and Fodio. So some people are actually giving a different interpretation to this. That's Trump and his U.S. government deliberately launched this attack around Sokoto in order to divide the Muslims and Christians in Nigeria. And then when you look at the social media, even the way people are actually giving comments on this, it's really not healthy. We have to be very, very careful.
Absolutely.
Yes, and then this thing happened on the day of Christmas. Just yesterday we reported, in fact, in our paper today, we reported that Christmas was peaceful.
Yes.
And then we gave evidence. In Sokoto, in Zamfara, Christians honored the Emir of Zuru. In Kaduna, it was Muslims from all over the country that converged and then went to a church in order to show that, look, we are one. So we have to be very careful. Even the framing, as I said, and then the narration and the location, they are all questionable.
Absolutely. Now, Mala Hamza, the defense headquarters says these airstrikes were based on, credible intelligence, and it was carefully planned to minimize civilian harm. Now, given past concerns around collateral damage, how convincing is this assurance, and what evidence should Nigerians look for, to trust such claims?
So far, we are happy because we dispatched our reporters from Sokoto, from Kebbi, and they went there with camera. They interviewed the people in these locations, Jabo, and then Wariga and Al-Qasim villages, that is in Tangaza. The people confirmed that no civilian casualties. But then we had it, in the script read earlier, in Tangaza, the local government chairman confirmed that, of course, there were explosives around the mountainous areas, meaning that if success was recorded there, meaning the targeting was apt. Yes. But then Nigerians are asking. We spoke to senior military operatives, especially those who have retired and are also not comfortable with what happened, that Nigeria, instead of allowing US to bring its air power to Nigeria, should have insisted on getting support. Remember, since the time of Jonathan, that was the problem we had. Ahead of the elections in 2015, Jonathan had to, secure support from other countries to procure the arms that, were able to now cover a lot of grounds, part of Sambisa, from Adamawa, up to the Lake Chad regions. And that was how elections were held. But then Buhari, for many years, of course, at certain time, I think during Biden or thereabout, we got some support, but not, commensurate enough for the Nigerian troops to be able to contain this anomaly. Assuming US gave Nigeria the right intelligence, the right equipment, we strongly believe that Nigeria has the capacity, the capability, the wherewithal in terms of human capital, in terms of, military operatives that can contain this menace. But to allow US to actually bring its air forces, who knows? Tomorrow they will bring their boots on ground. And you know what will happen?
Absolutely. So let's take the words of the military. I mean, it describes the strike as a sign of Nigerians' resolve and also, stronger cooperation with the United States. Now, in practical terms, how effective has this partnership been in weakening terrorist networks in the Northwest, and what risks does this deeper foreign involvement carry?
So, honestly, I'm not satisfied, and millions of Nigerians I know will share my sentiment. As we said, as we speak now, hundreds of women, every men, children are in the hands of terrorists in Sambisa forest, in all the forests I mentioned, including around the Lake Chad. We have so many islands there where ISIS and whatever, they are having a field day. So, US government should support Nigeria with the right intelligence and then the equipment. As I said, Nigeria was known to be a regional superpower. We restored peace in Liberia. We restored peace in many African countries. And we also participated in United Nations peace missions across the world. So why should we be made a lame duck deliberately by a certain superpower which wants to actually make a case back home? Because the assumption and the insinuation in many quarters, especially in diplomatic circles, is that Trump just wants to appeal to a certain, characterization within the US because they have midterm election. He wants to say that, okay, he's protecting Christians around the world. All over the US, almost every day, you now see attacks, is it in schools and whatever. But then coming to Nigeria now to say they want to come and liberate. I was in the US, I stayed in the US for some time. The foreign policy of the United States honestly does not tally with the expectation of middle or, Americans who really believe in humanity, who believe in the sanctity of humanity. Because I stayed with a family while there. So I know, and I'm also in touch with them. What is happening at the Oval Office is not the representation of what ordinary Americans are expecting from Trump.
Well, Hamza, time is against us. I would have loved to keep you in the studio so we could, ask you more questions. But thank you so much for stopping by and for speaking with us tonight.
Thank you very much, Maimuna, and I hope to be here some other time.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, moving on, the National Assembly has ordered the re-gazetting of 4 major tax reform laws following public controversy over alleged post-passage alterations. In a statement on Friday, House of Representatives spokesman Akin Rotimi said the clerk to the National Assembly has been directed to re-gazette the acts and issue certified true copies of the versions duly passed by both chambers. Now, the laws affected include the Nigerian Tax Act 2025, Nigeria Tax Administration Act 2025, Joint Revenue Board of Nigeria Act 2025, 2025 and the Nigerian Revenue Service Act 2025. Rotimi said the move is purely administrative and aimed at clarifying discrepancies arising from harmonization, presidential assent, and publication in the official gazette. He added that a 7-member ad hoc committee has been constituted to review the matter within the National Assembly's constitutional powers. Now, the House reaffirmed its commitment to due process, separation of powers, and the rule of law. Now, President Bola Tinubu has officially received the National Tax Policy Implementation Committee, NTPIC, a body set up to oversee the coordinated rollout of the administration's sweeping tax reforms. The committee, chaired by financial expert Joseph Tegbe, is tasked with translating the recently enacted Tax Act into practical and harmonized actions across federal, states, and private sectors. Its mandate includes ensuring that the new tax policies are effectively implemented, monitored, and aligned with the broader goals of Nigerians' economic growth and revenue generation. A Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, will provide ministerial oversight for the committee, ensuring that the government's fiscal strategies are consistent with national development objectives.
They plan to commence the new law, the 2 remaining new laws, on the 1st of January 2026. We go ahead as planned, on schedule, because these reforms are designed to provide relief to the Nigerian people. Bottom 98% of workers will see either no PAYE tax or lower taxes to be paid. Small businesses, 97% of them will be exempted from corporate income tax, VAT, withholding tax, and large businesses will see a drop in the taxes that they pay. The whole idea being to try and promote economic growth, inclusivity, as well as shared prosperity for our people. So we're actually excited at the progress we're making, and we're looking forward to January 1st, 2026. We believe that over time, you get revenue from growth. When the economy is growing, people pay not because the tax rate has gone up, but because the base has increased. Number 2 is these reforms have rationalized a lot of wasteful and incentives that are distortionary, which is in itself not helpful for the economy. And number 3 is we see, as a result of this transformative tax reform, increasing awareness of and then tax culture, and therefore improve compliance. So if people that were not paying before start paying, and they're not people who are low-income earners, not only do you get more revenue, you get fairness for society.
Now, joining us via Zoom is a former federal lawmaker, Honorable Rima Shawulu, to analyze the tax reform policy. Hello, good evening, Honorable. Thank you for joining us this evening. Hello, Honorable. Can you hear me? All right, I think our guest is having a bit of difficulties to join us. Are you there, Honorable? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, let's jump right in. A lot of controversies concerning the tax laws. I mean, from your experience as a former lawmaker, how likely is it for, errors to appear after both chambers have passed a bill? And where do these mistakes usually happen?
But these mistakes should not happen at all. They are not supposed to happen. And if they did happen, it does simply mean that there was something deliberate that was done. The Authentication Act of 1962 is very clear about the procedures, how bills are transmitted to the president, and what the president does after the bills have been assented to and they become acts of the National Assembly. Now, what simply happens is this: when the National Assembly has passed any law, any bill, the clerk of the National Assembly forwards copies, duplicate copies, to the president, who signs or rejects the bills. Once he has rejected the bill, he will communicate to the National Assembly, if he chooses to, or after 30 days or so, if he does not communicate back to the National Assembly, the bill stands vetoed. And the National Assembly can pick it up and decide to override the veto or not. But once the president assents to the bill, it becomes an act of the National Assembly. And a copy, the duplicate copy, is sent back to the clerk of the National Assembly, who forwards it to the government printer to print, who forwards it to the government printer to print it as a gazette. It is not possible for the government, for the person who publishes, that is the Minister of Information, the people who publish the gazette, to issue a copy that has not been assented to by the president. So it's very obvious that as of today, the fact that the president did not sign on the copy that was passed by the House means that the president has vetoed the bill. And it means that we do not have any tax law that was recently passed. Anything done in that regard is illegal.
No, so you said it's illegal. Is it a criminal act? Can it be pegged
of
or
course,
tagged as a criminal act?
Of course. There are, even though the Authentication Act does not set out the nature of the offense or the penalties that should arise, but the clerk of the National Assembly must have forwarded the so-called forged copy to the government printer that printed the gazette. You cannot, the copy is, the second copy of the bill that is assented to by the president comes back to the clerk of National Assembly, who forwards it to the president for assent. Who forwards it to the clerk, to the government printer for production and circulation. And so there is no go-between, in between. Either the officials of the, whatever, there's the fact that what the government printer printed is at variance with what was passed by the National Assembly. Like I said, means that the president has vetoed the bill, has vetoed the bills, and they cannot be implemented. They are no longer legal. And the National Assembly cannot publish two different gazettes at the same time, bearing the same numbers, because to give confusion, it will be confusing to people who are supposed to implement and obey the acts. And in any case, I heard your report saying that from January 1st, the bills that we are complaining about, that there are controversies about, will be implemented. So which ones are going to be implemented? The ones that are wrong, have been proven to be wrong, or the ones that were not assented to by the president? Because you cannot implement a bill that has not been assented to by the president. And there is no evidence that the clerk forwarded a wrong copy to the government gazette. If the clerk forwarded a wrong copy to the government printer to print, then the clerk of the National Assembly should be brought to book, should be prosecuted. Or if the government printer printed a wrong one, the government printer should be prosecuted. This is not an issue that will just be swerved that you are doing administrative. What administration? The issue is public. What was signed by what was transmitted to the president? What was transmitted to the government printer? Are they the same? Are they at variance? If they are at variance, if what is printed is what the president signed, it means that the president has vetoed the bills as passed by the National Assembly, and you cannot implement bills that have been vetoed by the president.
Now, Honorable, with the 4 major tax laws involved, does ordering a re-gazetting point to, the weak internal controls, or is this a normal corrective step in the parliament?
The question of re-gazetting, I think, is very strange in procedures and processes of law, as far as my little understanding of what it is. You cannot, something has been gazetted, a wrong document was gazetted according to the narrative. What is the correct publication? What is the correct document? I don't know what they mean by re-gazetting. Did the president assent to the ones that were sent to him as passed by the National Assembly, or he assented to the one that the clerk gave the government printer who printed and mass produced them? So I don't understand what they are talking about. And until this is done, I don't think that it will be right to implement anything. And this also is worrying, because it means that civil societies and other groups and individuals have to go and dig up all the bills that have been assented to by the previous presidents and the current ones and compare them with what was passed by the National Assembly. If this happened in the case of this bill, you have no guarantee that many more have not happened with other bills, even when other people were president. So it is a huge thing that has happened that everybody needs to go and check, especially the bills and the laws that are controversial, whether those laws were the ones that were passed by the National Assembly or not. And the process is not supposed to be a complicated process. The president receives 2 copies, duplicate copies. He signs them, sends one back to the clerk. The clerk forwards that one to the government printer to print as a gazette. So how did the copies that are at variance with what was passed by the National Assembly, how did they get to the government printer?
Thank you, former federal lawmaker, Honorable Rima Shawulu, for speaking with us tonight. And, you know, Nigerians are waiting to see how this matter gets to unfold. Like you said, this should not be swept under the carpet. Thank you for speaking with us tonight.
Thank you very much.
This is News Hour on Trust TV, coming up after the break. Kaduna promotes healing across faith lines as they celebrate Boxing Day. More news when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the News Hour on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories once again. Nigerians react as residents recount moment U.S. strikes hit Sokoto communities. And National Assembly orders re-gazetting of new tax laws. Now, moving on to more stories. Boxing Day is traditionally a day when people exchange gifts, share love, and extend goodwill, especially to the less privileged in communities. However, in Kaduna this year, the celebration focused on healing the wounds between Christians and Muslims to restore peaceful coexistence in the city. Gifts and food were shared with Muslims who joined Christians in marking the day. And Trust TV's Bello Musa reports.
Kaduna has in the past experienced a series of crises that deepen divisions along religious lines, as suspicion and mistrust polarized people of different faiths. This year, Christmas and Boxing Day became a unifying factor as adherents of both faiths took deliberate steps to heal past wounds, forgive one another, and promote love and unity amid diversity.
It really reminds me of the good old days where we celebrate Christmas with our Christian brothers and sisters. We also celebrate Salah together with them. And it has been long that I experienced, when last I experienced this.
So anybody who wants to intrude or to cause chaos in Kaduna, they will not succeed. We need peace. We want peace. We want peace in our environment, in our how Kaduna and northern Nigeria and Nigeria will be in peace.
Religious leaders from both faiths emphasized forgiveness, especially in the context of the ongoing Christian genocide controversy, urging Nigerians to work together for a peaceful future.
There are so many unifying factors that bind us together. And one of the unifying factors that bind us together is the birth of Jesus Christ. For every Muslim, his faith is incomplete without believing in Jesus Christ. For every Christian, his faith is incomplete without believing in Jesus Christ. That becomes a unifying factor.
If we don't stop, take a pause, and forgive each other, then the country cannot move forward. There are narratives and counter-narratives about insecurity, peaceful coexistence, procrom, or you call it either genocide, whatever that is. Except we pause and heal, there can be no future Nigeria.
The CAN chairman for 19 northern states and Abuja, Reverend Joseph Hayab, commended the effort of Christians and Muslims in fostering unity despite many challenging narratives.
It's a commitment to change the narrative, to stop the bigotry and stop the prejudices that Christians and Muslims cannot eat together. Today you saw imams, you saw clerics, young and old, eating freely, happily, and when is today? Today is Christmas. Our grandparents had this kind of feast together. They relate together. They could even name children among themselves. Something happened, some evil people came and destabilized this kind of good friendship. So today we've just said, look, can we go back to that important relationship?
Meanwhile, the Hakan President Reverend Amos Kili also called for stronger security measures to protect citizens during festive period.
Despite all that we are going through, I will want to call on the Christians and the entire citizens of this country that hope is not lost. Christ has given us hope that things will now come back to normal because he is the one in charge.
This year's Boxing Day celebration sends a clear message. Christians, Muslims, and all Nigerians must remain steadfast in their faith, uphold hope, and take collective responsibility for ensuring peace during the festive period and beyond. By promoting forgiveness, unity, and mutual understanding, Kaduna set an example of how communities can rise above division and build lasting harmony. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Now, Christians in Bauchi State described the 2025 Boxing Day as a time to reflect on brotherhood, sharing love and spreading happiness despite the current economic downturn. For others, the festive period was an opportunity to enjoy time with friends and family in the spirit of Christmas. Trust TV's Adamu Imam reports.
Residents in Bauchi continue celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ on Boxing Day, filled with hope and prayers that conditions in Nigeria will improve. Many describe the economic situation as a challenge for this year's festivities, while others held a different perspective.
It happens to be in a very low key because of the economy and coupled with a lot of things that is happening in the country. Can you imagine that some people left before Christmas up till now? They've not reached home because of bad roads, because of hold-ups and a lot of things like that. Then coming back to we that we are in the north, especially we that we are farmers, we did not find things very easy because the climate change is really taking toll on we the farmers. The rain is not falling at the adequate.
And we thank God for the celebration of yesterday, Christmas, that God spare our life. At least this year is a little bit fear than last year because of things as comes down concerning foodstuff. We thank God. And we're also praying for the security of this country, that God should still help us to bring the security back to the way security is when we are small. Because love is what is important in Nigeria, but now there is no more love because of the politician issues has made the love to run away from people.
But you know, people used to turn it another way. Boxing, they thought is this boxing of hitting one another. No, but we thank God for making it to see this Boxing Day. I wish that many that are yet to receive their gifts, they will get their gifts. And many that have already received their own, as they open their boxes, they will see great things, great wishes, many things that will make them to be joyful.
For many Christians, the happenings in the country did not overshadow their celebrations, especially when spending time with children and relatives at home or in designated community centers.
Like today is a Boxing Day, is a day of gifts. The meaning of that box is not fighting, but to unveil the boxes you have received, the gift because of the birth of Jesus Christ. So today is a day we'll have fun. My kids should come and ride the horse, you do the swing and dance, have fun, take ice cream. So the Christmas season is a season of love and gift sharing. So we should not take it otherwise.
So Christmas celebration has been very wonderful. Like I would say, it's one of the best Christmas I've had. We came out with my husband and the children and we're so happy and excited and everybody is happy. Yes.
It's Boxing Day and it's a significant day in the Christendom. It's where we share things among family, friends, neighbors, colleagues, relatives. So honestly, I just came here with my children to have fun and to have good time. Despite the economic hardship, that wouldn't stop us actually from going out to enjoy the great moment.
Meanwhile, at recreational center like Adamujumba GRA, residents took full advantage of the festival. Children enjoy makeup sessions, others rode horses, and many participated in dancing, all contributing to the joyful atmosphere of this year's Christmas celebrations. Despite economic challenges, Christians in Bauchi embraced the festive spirit, using Boxing Day to strengthen family bonds, celebrate community, and spread joy and hope across the state. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
Indeed, it's a beautiful Boxing Day in Bauchi State. Now, troops of the 3 Division and Joint Task Force Operation Enduring Peace have fueled a planned terrorist attack in Plateau State, killing a notorious bandit kingpin. The operation was carried out in the early hours of December 25th at Wende community in Boko's local government area, and following credible intelligence that bandits were preparing to attack a nearby settlement. According to the operations information officer, Samson Zakom, the troops intercepted and engaged the criminals, killing one suspected kingpin and recovering weapons and ammunition. He said preliminary investigations linked the slain suspect to a terror syndicate operating in Gwande and the surrounding areas. The military has intensified efforts to track fleeing gang members and reassured residents of its commitment to peace and security, urging the public to continue providing credible intelligence. And now we move to Jigawa State, where the State Universal Basic Education Board, SUPEP, has completed the selection of 27 education secretaries across the state through a merit-driven process. The Jigawa State Universal Basic Education Board, SUPEP, says it has concluded a rigorous and transparent process that produced 27 education secretaries, one from each local government area of the state. And Trust TV's correspondent Ali Rabiu Ali reports.
Briefing journalists in Tusi, the executive chairman of SUPEP, Professor Haruna Musa, said the exercise was carried out in line with Governor Malam Umar Namadi's educational reform agenda. Professor Musa explained that over 1,000 applicants took part in the process, which involved a computer-based test, interviews and security screening by the Department of State Services, DSS. He said only candidates who met the required standard were recommended, adding that the final selections was independently reviewed and approved by the governor based strictly on performance.
The only reason is we started the process of engaging education sectors who will be leading our LGES, and the process has been completed. It has been a very rigorous selection process. We started with 1,156 applicants when we opened the portal. And this time, unlike what it used to be, it's not somebody who will bring you. You are the one to apply because you are interested. You feel you'll be able to do it. And it was on that basis we were able to filter. And today we have gotten the 27 of them.
The SUBEB chairman disclosed that the successful candidates will undergo training, sign performance bonds, and be regularly assessed, with those who fail to perform to be disengaged. He added that none of the education secretaries will serve in their local governments of origin to ensure professionalism and accountability. Professor Haruna Musa then says the goal is to strengthen grassroots leadership and improve basic education outcomes across Jigawa State. From Jigawa, Ali Rabiu Ali, Trust TV News.
And now we shift our focus now to business. Nigeria's spending on arms and ammunition imports fell by about 90% in 2025, dropping to roughly 49 billion naira from over 520 billion naira recorded in 2024, according to data from the NBS. The NBS foreign trade report shows arms imports stood at 22.08 billion naira in the first quarter of 2025, fell to 4.87 billion naira in the second quarter, and rose to 23.49 billion naira in the third quarter. The sharp decline contrasts with 2024 figures when 483.85 billion naira was spent in the fourth quarter alone. And despite the reduction, security analysts say the trend is difficult to reconcile with Nigeria's ongoing security challenges. And security expert Chidi Omeje questioned whether the drop reflects increased local production, noting that the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, DICON, mainly produces light weapons, while security forces still require advanced platforms. Now, away from Nigeria, the United Nations says Guinea's presidential election campaign has been marred by intimidation and repression, urging authorities to ensure a fair, free vote. On Sunday, the junta leader, General Mamadi Doumbouya, who seized power in 2021, is contesting the election despite earlier promises to return the country to civilian rule. The major opposition figures have been barred, prompting calls for a boycott. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk raised concern over unresolved cases of enforced disappearances, including relatives of opposition figures and a journalist abducted in November. About 6.8 million Guineans are eligible to vote, and choosing among 9 candidates, including Doumbouya, who is running as an independent. For more on sports update, let's join Joseph Peter.
The chairman of the National Sports Commission, NSC, Malam Shehu Diko, has confirmed that comprehensive renovation work will soon commence at several major stadiums across Nigeria. Speaking in an interview, Diko disclosed that the Abuja National Stadium will be the starting point of the ambitious project, with Ibadan, Kaduna, Lagos, and possibly Uyo also slated for upgrades. According to the NSC chairman, the Abuja Stadium will receive a pitch of the same quality and technology currently being used in Morocco for the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations. He noted that Nigeria could have been the first country in Africa to install such advanced pitch technology, but procedural requirements delayed the process. Diko further revealed that the contractors responsible for some of Europe's most iconic football pitches have been engaged for the Nigerian project. He added that the contractors have already carried out inspections at the Abuja Stadium with samples taken abroad for testing. Outlining the phased approach to the renovation, the NSC chairman said Abuja will lead the way before attention shifts to other key venues. Diko, however, stressed that long-term maintenance will be critical to the success of the project. The proposed renovations are expected to significantly improve Nigeria's sport infrastructure and restore confidence in the country's ability to host major international competition. That's Sport News. I'm Joseph Peter.
Well, we've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Follow us on all of our social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more news. I am Mimana Bagodo. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend and good night.